Well, food processing facilities and meat packing plants are becoming a major hotspot for the coronavirus pandemic. And it's having a big impact on Minnesota farmers right now. With no place to send their herd, some hog farmers are having to destroy their livestock. And soon, consumers may soon see the impact at grocery stores as well. Tom Lydon with the impossible choices facing some farmers.
Out here in the wide open landscape of rural Goodhue County, it's hard to imagine space would ever be an issue. But on the Patterson farm, inside the hog barn, they're running out of room, forcing Mike Patterson to put his pigs on a diet.
High fiber, not very nutritious, lower calories. I've been kind of saying it's like salad for pigs.
If they get too much bigger, they won't fit the machinery at the processing plant and will be sold at a severe discount. Many of these pigs should have had their last meal sometime last week.
We've got perfectly good pork on the hoof right here today. We just needed to get it into the grocery stores. And
his pigs were destined for the Smithfield processing facility in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, until more than 800 workers caught COVID, forcing the plant to shut down on Easter. Then last week, JBS in Worthington, Minnesota's largest pork processor, closed indefinitely, and facilities have been falling like dominoes ever since. Comfrey Farm in Windham closed. Tyson in Iowa, Farmland in Illinois. In the upper Midwest, only Hormel and Quality Pork in Austin are still open. About 30% of the pork processing capacity in the U.S. now sits idle. Meanwhile, hog prices for farmers have fallen 39% since the pandemic started. But consumer prices for pork and bacon have only gone up, and we may be just a couple weeks away from shortages at the supermarket.
the whole system is really built on on-time delivery of the animal to the plant to the, to the processing, and the processing to the grocery store so that we can get it to the consumer. So any one little piece in that that's thrown out of whack, and there can be big problems.
You don't have 6 feet between workstations in a processing plant.
The close quarters with workers shoulder to shoulder turns processing facilities into petri dishes. 40 different languages are spoken at Smithfield and JBS, so communication may have been a barrier. Health officials believe COVID may have spread among employees who work at more than one facility. Professor Michael Boland says the pandemic has shown just how critical immigrant labor is to the food supply chain.
But if you've got the majority part of the labor force that can't come to the plant because they're sick, where are we going to find people?
The American pork industry was already bracing for a virus from China. It just wasn't COVID-19. African swine fever has swept through China, decimating about half the herd there.
There are diseases in hogs that spread rapidly, and so we're probably more aware of disease than a lot of people in the general public.
Our system is so efficient that if something goes a little bit haywire here or there, like closing the restaurants where half the consumption is done, even for a short period of time, it shows it's very fragile.
Congressman Jim Hagedorn says farmers will likely need another $40 billion in assistance before the pandemic's over, and some kind of long-term risk management program. If not, he says only the biggest operations will survive.
They didn't do anything wrong. Their operations were pretty sound 6 weeks ago. All these hog operators, they weren't, killing it or anything, but they were doing okay. And now today they're facing extinction, so we have to help them out.
In less than 3 weeks, I've got hogs that are supposed to come from our nursery into my facility, and if I don't have my hogs out, we've got nowhere to go.
What everyone fears is the mass destruction of animals. According to the Minnesota Pork Association, 3,000 pigs were destroyed last week. Another 200,000 could be put down in the next few weeks if the processing plants don't open soon. Euthanizing perfectly healthy pigs because it's impossible to get them to market. Not just a financial hit, a psychological toll as well.
As a farmer, it's very tough on me. We do everything we can to keep those hogs healthy. Having to euthanize any of them at any point seems like a humongous waste.
A few months ago, few would have predicted a human virus would threaten America's food supply chain. Just like no one predicted out here, space for livestock would ever be a problem. Tom Lydon, Fox 9.